Hi, I'm going to introduce our newest feature, the Plastic SCM Tube. The Tube is a new technology we have just created to enable small teams to connect different servers together. I'm going to explain it with a small example. Suppose you are a developer working at home or working on at the office, and you have a distributed plastic server in your laptop. Then some other team member is working maybe from home, from a different city, or even a different continent, right? And okay, you need to push and pull. Well, there are two options you have here. First is you can set up like a central server, maybe in the cloud, maybe in the office, and then configure the firewall and everything. Or otherwise, you cannot connect directly, right? So that's why we introduced this new technology. Basically, the tube is a way to let you connect and do push and pull and full replicas and everything, two different servers together, even when you are behind different firewalls, without having to tune anything on the network configuration. Don't have to mess with the firewall rules or anything. How do we do that? Well, basically it's is what the tube is about. It works as a directory service, so it lets you find any other peer, any other team member, wherever he is. So it lets you find him, and then it lets you connect to different servers together and exchange data. So as we say, this is like a P2P service. It's like a ad hoc virtual private network, a VPN that you can set up between two different plastic servers to do push and pull. You can also use it to do any other plastic operations like a check-in, but we initially recommend it uh, for distributed operations, push and pulling data. So let me explain a little bit more about how it is and how it works. Later I'll jump into plastic and show you how to use it, which is very simple. Well, how it works. Suppose you are working on your laptop, as I said before, and then the first thing you need to do is to sign in, sorry, to the tube. Once your machine is connected, then any other peer can find you. It doesn't mean everyone will be able to find you. Only the people who you have shared some repository with. So the first step is you and your mate are both connected to the tube. It doesn't really matter where you are as soon as you are connected, and then a direct connection is established between the two machines so you can exchange data. At the end of the day, it's not like a real connection between the two machines because it goes always through a central server at plasticscm.com. The beautiful thing here is that there's no central copy, so it's completely P2P, and the only thing that the central server is doing is exchanging bytes. It handles the initial handshake between the computers. It lets you log in, and then it does all of that using SSL, and then you establish a direct connection through this machine with the other peer using SSL, but using the SSL configuration of the machine you are connecting to. So this is like a dump server, only exchanging bytes. There's no way it will store anything or cache anything or access to your data in any way. So that's basically how it works. The beautiful thing is that it's true P2P for the distributed version control. So normally we are used to use distributed version control, but you end up having like a central server somewhere, maybe on a hosting site, or the server you host somewhere, or whatever. This way it's like completely distributed. Different it has different possibilities. One of them is, okay, you are just a small team, two team members, you just push and pull data. But suppose the team is slightly bigger and you have some sort of central server somewhere. Okay, you can hook the your server to the network using the tube, so you make it accessible to all the team members without having to touch anything on the firewall, which it ends up always being like a pain, right? Each time you have to touch something on the configuration, you end up losing some time and so on. So once I made the initial intro, let me go to Plastic and explain you how to use it. Okay, once you start Plastic and you get the right license, you'll get the new icon, a new button on the bar on the Windows GUI saying Plastic Tube. I said you need a special license because at this point only the people joining to the closed beta will be able to get this feature. You'll need to request this to us, and we'll generate a new license for you with the tube enabled. This new screen is only available, this new button is only available on the Windows user interface. It's not available yet on Linux and Mac, although the underlying mechanism to use the tube is available on all the platforms. So once you click, you get a new tab, and then you get an explanation about, well, telling what the tube is about. Basically, this service to connect two machines together over the internet. So the first thing you need is to configure your server to use the tube. In order to do that, you need to sign up. What you can use is the same login you use to sign up to sign in into plasticscm.com. In my case, I'll enter my email and my password. Every user in plasticscm.com is a potential potential plastic tube user, right? So the only thing you have to do is just log in here, click on connect, and then you'll set up your server. Very important here, I'm basically connecting my local host to the tube. This is designed to connect your server, your personal server on your laptop, to the tube. Of course, you can do it with a corporate server or something like that, but initially it's designed to work with your own machine. So I connect, will tell me you are ready, and then there's a next button which will drive me to the tube configuration. Okay, here we go. Basically, when you enter this screen, you'll see everything empty because you haven't configured anything yet. In my case, since I've been using the tube for a while, I already have the two main components here. Basically, the repositories I'm sharing with the rest of the team, with some other team members, and also the repositories that someone is sharing with me. Let me explain the two parts. First, I can show you some of the repos I have and who I'm sharing the repos with. So, for instance, we have a Codis repository, and I'm sharing it with 3 team members: Miguel, Ruben, and Violeta. And it lets me configure the type of sharing I'm doing. Basically, I'm letting them do push and pull to my repositories. As you can see here, I could change that, and at the end of the day, what it does is just change the ACL, the permissions of the repository. I'll show you that. I'll show you that later. And then, as you can see, there are other repositories. For instance, in this case, I'm only letting Miguel pull my repository, but not push into it, and so on. There are 2 important things here. People can only access my repositories if I share them with them. Otherwise, they are not visible for them, right? So there are 2 things here. First, you have to create what we call a tube, which is, okay, I let Miguel connect to my machine, and the second thing is I share a repository with them. If I don't do the 2 steps, then he won't see anything on my side. So, suppose I want to share one of my repos with someone else. In my case, I'm going to share this one, the first one, with another team member. All I have to do is to click here and add the email of this user. And I'll select, okay, I'll let him do push and pull with my repository. At this point, there are 2 things that are going to happen. The first one is that a new tube is going to be created. So basically, the tube server is going to let Borja connect to my machine. I won't be able to connect to Borja's machine, to be read machine, but he will be able to connect to mine. So if I want to have like 2 connections, I mean dual connection, he will have to share something with me, and I'll have to do the same. So at this point, all I'm allowing it to do is, okay, he will be able to connect to my system, and then at the same time I'm sharing the Codis repository. So I'm doing 2 things at once. Doing that, and then here we are. I already see him as on my list, so he will be able to access my machine. Okay. On the other hand, we have something else here, which is the repositories that someone is already sharing with me, and I get the full list. If one server is not connected, we don't have information about whether it's connected at this point, although you can basically know it because there are no repositories here. So for instance, we get our Diana server, and there are a bunch of repositories that I can access. And then I also have some other people who have shared stuff with me, for instance Miguel, Ruben, and some other people, but they are not connected at this point, so I can't get anything from their side. But I can get stuff from Diana. Okay, this screen is basically used only for configuration purposes. Once you decide what you want to share, what you want to push and pull and so on, sorry, to let others pull and push and so on, you can just go to the regular Plastic SCM. Everything I've done from the GUI can also be done from the command line. There's a new command called Tube. Just one note, I'm using VCM instead of CM because this is the command we use internally on the dev team, but normally you'll be just using CM, correct? Okay, so I can do something like CM Tube local, and it will show the repositories I'm sharing with other people. It shows the repo and who I'm sharing it with. In my case, you can see it's exactly the same thing I have here on the GUI, right? And I can also do something VCM Tube remote. Will take a little bit more, and it will basically show something like the list I have here, which is the repositories the rest of the team is sharing with me. It takes a little bit because it does two things. First, it retrieves the list of available tubes from the tube server, and then it tries to connect to each of the servers through the tube. So it takes a few seconds. Okay, and here I can see what other people is sharing with me. Like, okay, this comes from Diana server, and so on. Right? There are other commands you can see here. For instance, from here you can configure your server. It's basically what we did on the first screen. You can create tubes, which is something like, okay, saying the remote user, it can connect with you. That's all you do. You can also remove tubes, and then you can share and unshare. From the GUI, you do the create and the share on a single step. So it's slightly easier than actually doing it from the command line, but sometimes it's very handy. You also have a status command which shows you whether your server is connected or not. Okay, you can also achieve it from here. One note is that at this point in pre-release mode, as soon as you configure the server, it will stay connected. I mean, if you restart the server, it will reconnect. It doesn't actually remember the last status, it just connects again if you restart the server. You can disconnect, press. Now, how can we use it? Well, it's much easier than you probably think it is. Okay, let me go to a scene view that I already have prepared to work with our central server called Diana. It's accessing the server through the tube, so I'm not connected to the VPN or anything. And see how easy it is. Basically, all I'm doing is saying, okay, create a new sync between my Codis repo at localhost, and I'm just specify a special spec to access Diana, right? All I have to do is prefix it with the tube prefix, tube, then Diana server at codis.s. Let me just do that from the command line. I could do something like tube Diana server at codis.s. So it's basically like accessing a normal server. That's all it is, right? The thing is that instead of doing, I mean, normally you will do something like your server and then 8084 or 8087, like server and port. All you have to do here is type the other user. In case you are connecting to other user, will be something like, okay, mike at yourteam.com, and that's how you will use it. And this server spec is what you can use on a sync view, and then you can just simply replicate, easily push and pull branches from the sync view or directly from the branch explorer, or as you will do with a regular server. So that's why I said you can use it from the command line or the Linux and Mac GUIs, because once it's set up, once you set up the tube itself and your server, it's very easy to just access it from any other interface. Let me take a look here. Yes, it's just, as you can see, it's just like a regular server. You can just go and browse the repositories available, and then push and pull. In my case, already pre-configured because I already ran some replicas before. Some interesting stuff. Let me, well, basically it's as easy as I show you. You can just work this way and push and pull. You can also use it for direct work, like use it as default server and just checking. It goes slightly slower than in a regular server because it's not like a direct connection. It goes to the Tube server and then goes down to your machine. One of the things that is interesting to explain is that this initial connection to do the login and everything is done through SSL, so everything is always protected. And then once you connect to the other machine, the connection goes through SSL too. So, and you are not using the credentials from Plastic SCM or anything. You're actually using the credentials from the server of your colleague. So you'll have to accept the credentials the first time you launch it, and so on. But after that, after this initial setup, you will just use it transparently as a regular server. The great benefit, as I said before, well, no matter whether I'm at the office, whether I'm traveling, I'm at a hotel, on a conference, I can be accessed exactly in the same way. So that's why I said at the beginning that it works as a directory service, right? Because no matter where I am, I can be always reached with Pablo at codis.s, and I can reach Diana's server wherever it's located. In this case, it's always at the office, but in my case, I'm on different locations and I'm always accessible. So if you want to use it, if you want to give it a try, just contact us from you can contact support, or you can send a tweet, whatever is better for you, and we'll enable the latest license for you, so you'll access to this. It's important that it's like a closed VPN. Not everyone will be able to access your machine at all. Just the people that you allow to reach you. Only that people. One point that is important to highlight is that latency between servers is something you may notice. That's why we have a server, a Plastic Tube server, which is basically this rendezvous point, one in Europe, and we are about to set up another one in the States. So depending on where you are, you should tell us, you should let us know, and then whether you want to use the US tube or the European tube, because latency is something that we noticed that is very important in this configuration. We are based in Europe. We started using a server on the States, and it was really slow till we changed it, and now it works perfectly well. We've been using it for months already internally. Every push and pull I do basically goes through the tube, and well, I'm very happy with it, right? Because it's like through P2P, it's very easy to use and so on. So hope you like it, and it helps small teams simplifying their IT operations. Thank you.